Welcome to another adventure of The Last Vampire Red Dice. Yesterday, Sita is captured by the general. And who was the deceptive force? The scientist, Andy, who is actually Arturo. Now, let's begin. Several hours have elapsed since my capture. I have spent the majority of it sitting on the floor with my eyes closed, like a meditating yogi, but I enjoy no blissful nirvana. Inside, I seethe with rage at General Harper, at Arturo, and most of all, at myself. Arturo left signs for me everywhere, and I miss them all. Again and again, my mind forces me to review the list. When Joel was captured, he was brought before Andy. It was Andy who confirmed the special nature of Joel to General Harper. But rather than stay to examine Joel, Andy left the compound and went gambling. What an odd thing to do right after the catch of the century. Of course, Andy was not out for fun. He knew I would be watching. He knew I would be lured in. I never saw Andy out in the sun, and it wasn't just because he worked the night shift. He was sensitive to the sun, as a vampire should be. Yet, he is not a pure vampire. Andy talked about his highly classified work to me, a total stranger. I hardly had to prod it out of him. He planted all the right clues for a person dissatisfied with his job, not enough pay, totalitarian boss, lousy work schedule. He tricked me in the most insidious way by handing me all the ammunition I needed to think I could trick him. He protested when I asked him to help me break into the compound. He put on a great show of defiance, but the fact that he helped me at all without my having to manipulate his brain was peculiar. Andy had Arturo's model of vampire DNA. I passed it off, figuring he had already examined another vampire and broken their genetic code. The only problem was there was no other vampire. I had destroyed all of Eddie's bastards. The only one the government had was Joel. Because, you see, he was not a person. He was a fish, which is what he had been all along. As a big fish, he could eat only smaller fish. In my dream, Krishna had been trying to tell me that the hidden truth was the most obvious truth. Andy was able to construct Arturo's model because he was Arturo. Why did he leave it out for me to see? To taunt me, no doubt. I opened my eyes. Damn, I whisper. Joel looks over. I have broken his chains. He is no longer pinned to the wall, but is able to lie down properly and rest. The chains have accomplished their purpose, however. Had Joel been at the door, I would not have walked into the cage. I have tested the strength of the walls. The guard was right. A nuclear bomb couldn't blast through them. The walls of the cell are flat, white-color metallic. The space is square, 20 feet by 20 feet. A seatless toilet is attached to one wall, a single cot to the opposite one. Joel lies on the thin mattress. We all make mistakes, he says. Some make more than others. I appreciate you trying to rescue me. You should have left me to die after Eddie opened my veins. You're probably right, but then I wouldn't have the pleasure of your company right now. I pause. How are you feeling? The first thing I did after being captured, before sitting down to break myself, was let Joel drink a pint of my blood. The transfusion elevated his more severe symptoms, but he still looked gaunt. Yet I am reluctant to give him more nourishment. We both know I need to be at full strength if we are to break out. I feel fine, he adds. Better than I have in days. I reach out and squeeze his hand. It must have been hard for you. Have they been examining you inside out? That's a literal way of putting the question. He gestures to the screens. I have told him nothing of Arturo. I take it he is an old friend. I know our every word is being recorded. I don't know what can and will be used against me in a court of law. But I do know I don't have the right to remain silent. I wonder if they will try to torture information out of me. It will be a waste of their time. I doubt they're going to let me call a lawyer. We go way back, is all I say. How was Vegas? Fine. Won a lot of money at craps. That's great. Where did you stay? At the Mirage. I sigh. I'm sorry, Joel. Neither of us should be in here. I messed up. Don't be so hard on yourself. After all, you stopped Eddie. Yeah. Only to set up a situation where there might be 1,000 Eddies. I abruptly raise my voice and yell at the monitor. Do you hear that, Arturo? 1,000 Ralphs running loose. Is that what you want? My voice sinks to a whisper. That's what you're going to get. I don't expect to get a response to my outburst. But a minute later, the TV monitor comes back to life. Arturo is alone, sitting at his desk in the security room around the corner, as they say. See, he says. Non è hecho me passato ci vi avrei rivista. I never thought I would see you again. Same here, I mutter. Are you comfortable? He asks, switching languages effortlessly. When he wishes, he has no accent. He must have been living in America for a long time. No cage is ever comfortable. I pause. Are you comfortable? He spreads his hands. I remember how large they were. Suddenly, I recall many details about him. The warm gray of his eyes, the strength of his jawline. Why didn't I recognize him? There are the obvious reasons. He has aged 25 years since we last met, and yet his face has changed more than 2.5 decades warrant, probably since it has, in reality, been over 700 years. Yet none of that should have fooled me. I didn't recognize him for two sound reasons. I knew he couldn't possibly exist in our time, so I never even considered the idea. And the Andy I stalked did not possess the same soul as the Arturo I once loved. This man who stares down at me. I hardly know him, and I slept with him for months. What would you have me do? He replies. You had to be stopped. My voice is filled with scorn. Stopped from what? There were violent murders in Los Angeles. I knew that was you. You knew it was not me. You knew it was some other vampire. Don't start off our first conversation in 7 centuries with a lie. You know I never killed for pleasure. My wrath makes him pull back and stop. I apologize. I should say I knew you were indirectly involved. He pauses. Who committed the killings? I forget my resolve to say as little as possible. The information cannot help them anyway. My blood is all that matters. A psychotic vampire by the name of Eddie Fender started the murders. The LAPD and FBI were doing everything they could to stop him, but it was I who put a halt to the killings. And what do I get for it? A medal? No. The entire police force comes after me. You killed 24 of those officers because they were trying to kill me. I am not the villain here. You and the scum you are associated with are. I pause. Settle down. Why are you with these people? I can help them. They can help me. We have vested interests. Isn't that the reason for most partnerships? It is among people who have selfish goals. But I never remember you as selfish. Why are you working for the U.S. military machine? Surely you must understand. It is a blasphemous errand. You saw what happened last time. I made an error. That's all. I will not make the same error again. That's all. Just some error. What about Ralph? I loved that boy. You loved him. And you turned him into a monster. You forced me to kill him. Do you know what that did to me? Arturo's voice goes cold. It made you want to testify against me. You had to be stopped. I didn't have the strength or the will to do it myself. I pause. You had a chance to talk to me in the Inquisitor's dungeon. You chose not to. I had nothing to say. Well then, I have nothing to say to you now. Come and get your fresh supply of vampire blood. Send plenty of scientists and soldiers. Not all of them will be coming back to you. You present no danger to us as long as you are in your cell, and you will remain in there for the remainder of your life. We will see, I whisper faintly. See that? I'm surprised at you. Aren't you curious how I'm still alive? I draw in a weary breath. I have an idea as to how you survived. Even when you swore to me you weren't experimenting on yourself. You were. That's why you began to have visions of DNA. You were seeing it through the eyes of your blessed hybrid state. I did experiment on myself, that is true, but I never reached the full hybrid status. That must be obvious to you. I nod. Because you have aged. Does it hurt, Arturo, that you were not the dashing young priest anymore? May I yet achieve immortality? And I always thought you wanted to die and go to heaven. He is right, of course. I am curious about those days. What happened after the trial? How did you escape? I heard they burned you at the stake. The Inquisitor granted me a private audience. He couldn't let me go, he said, but in exchange for my confession of witchcraft, he agreed to hang instead of burn me. And you recovered? Yes. Were you surprised? Yes. It was a calculated risk. I didn't have many options. I hesitate. What did you do to Ralph? For once, Arturo looks ashamed. exposed him to the vial of your blood, with the midday sun pouring through it. I was aghast. But you said you never considered that the vibration would destroy a man or a woman. You saw how the word was spreading about me. I had only a limited time to complete my experiments. Ralph had been spying on us all along. Neither of us knew. He saw what we were up to. He wanted to try it. Fury possesses me. That's a ridiculous rationalization. He was a child. He didn't know what would happen to him. You did. Sita, you were a coward. If your experiment was too precious to you, why didn't you perform it on yourself with the midday sun pouring through my bloody vial? My words wound him, but he is still full of surprises. But I did subject myself to the blood in the sunlight. That morning, when the mob approached the church, I heard them coming. I hurried down to the basement and let the full power of the vampire vibration wash over me. I believe that is why I've been able to live as long as I have. If the mob had not stopped me, maybe the transformation would have been complete, and I would have achieved the perfect state. I was never to know. The first thing the mob did was break the vial. His words sober me. Then what went wrong with Ralph? Why did he turn into a monster? There could be many factors influenced his outcome. One was that I laid him on the copper sheets when the sun was high in the sky. Also, and I think this is the primary reason the experiment failed, Ralph was ordinarily fearless by nature. But when the transformation started, he got scared. The power of the magnetic field magnified his fear, which in turn warped his DNA. When the process was complete, I couldn't control him. He had the strength of 10 men. He was out the door before I could stop him. You should have told me. I could have stopped him before he killed anyone. We might have been able to change him back. Arturo shook his head. I don't think there was any going back, he adds. I was too ashamed to tell you. Finally, the high priest confesses. I continue to sneer at him. All your talk doesn't disguise the fact that you experiment on a child before yourself, and that you lied to me after swearing on the name of your precious God that you would always tell me the truth. Everyone lies, he says. Guarda cosa si diventata, Arturo, I say, reverting to the language of his youth, out of frustration, hope. Look what has become of you, Arturo. When we first met, you wouldn't hurt a fly. That's why I gave you my blood. I trusted you. Even on the monitor, I see his gaze is focused in the far distance. My words stir painful memories for both of us. My hatred for him is matched only by my love. Yes, I still love him, and I hate that about myself. He seems to sense my thoughts, for he suddenly glances back at me and smiles. It is a sad smile. I cannot defend my acts to you, he replies, except to say, I thought the rewards of success outweighed the possibility of failure. Yes, I should never have used Ralph. Yes, I should never have lied to you. But if I had done these things, where would we be today? I'd be long dead in a forgotten grave, and you'd be safe and secure in your own selfish universe We wouldn't have your blood now, so we could continue with our noble quest to finish what was started 7 centuries ago. I snicker. I can't help but notice that you apply the word selfish to me. What sickness was magnified in your field when you lay beneath the vibration of my blood? You have become megalomaniac. You were a priest, a good priest. You used to humble yourself before God. Now you want to be God. If Jesus were alive today, what would you say to him? Or would you give him a chance to explain himself before stealing his blood? Do you want a chance to explain yourself, Arturo? Asked gently. I answer to no man. My conscience is clear. He raises his voice. I have finally hit a button. I don't believe you, Sita. Why couldn't you look at me when you accused me of witchcraft? You were a witch, and you haven't changed. God damn you, Arturo. Can't you see how dangerous it is for me to be held captive by these people? I just have to look at General Harvard to know he wants to rule the world. He's not the monster Andy led you to believe. You talk about beliefs. What do you believe in these days? I never met Jesus, it's true, but you must know as well as I that he would never condone your methods, your lying and ambushing and torture. The means to do not justify the end. You do not watch Ralph chew on human flesh. If you had seen him, you know that his path you want to take stinks of the devil. Arturo sits back from the screen. He is as tired as I am, perhaps shaken as well. In that moment, his face becomes much older than 45. He appears ready for the grave. Yet he is resolved. His destiny will be fulfilled. He shakes his head as he sighs. You can do this the hard way, Sita, he says, or we can do it the easy way. It is up to you. I need your blood, and I'm going to have it. I smile grimly. Then you'd better prepare yourself for a fight. Let me warn you, Arturo. I have shown you only a fraction of my powers. But if you come after me now, you will see all of them. There aren't enough soldiers and bullets in this compound to contain me for the remainder of my life. Tell your general that people will die if I am not released. Their deaths will be on your conscience, Arturo. I swear in the name of my God, you will never get to heaven, in this world or the next. The screen goes dead. But not before I see the fear in his eyes. Oh my goodness. This is getting good. So Sita has to get out. So what are we going to do? What is she going to do? She can't break through the walls. They're too thick, too powerful. She can't go down. But what about up? Interesting. Let's find out how she gets out. More hours pass. Joel lies sleeping. Once again, I sit silently on the floor, my legs crossed, my eyes closed. Yet this time my attention is turned outward. Through the wall, I can just hear the guards at the security station talk. There are 3 of them now. They discuss a football game. Those 49ers are amazing. Guard 1 says, their offense works like a machine gun. It just keeps firing. I felt sorry for the Cowboys. You know, everybody looks at the quarterback. Guard 2 says, but I think when you got the receivers, you got all you need. Even a lousy pro quarterback can look good throwing to players who are wide open. I think it's the other way around, Guard 3 says. You got a great quarterback, he can hit a player who's totally covered. Not many teams win the Super Bowl with an average quarterback. Not many teams win the Super Bowl, period, Guard 1 says. Only one a year, Guard 2 says. Wouldn't be a Super Bowl if everyone could win it, Guard 3 says. Beyond their chattering, I sense their thoughts. The gift of Yaksha's blood grows stronger the more still I become. Guard 1 is contemplating his sour stomach. He has an ulcer, and when he pulls an all-night shift, it always hurts. He wonders if he should go to his car on the next break and get his bottle of Maalox, but he needs to drink it in private. The other guys always kid him about having a stomachache, like a little kid. Actually, Guard 1 has a lot of guts going into work in the pain he is in. Guard 2 thoughts are dull. He is thinking about his wife, his current mistress, and a woman he just met in the cafeteria 2 hours earlier. All of them naked together in bed with him. He drank a large Coke before starting his last shift. He has to pee real bad. Guard 3 is interesting. Unknown to his buddies, he writes science fiction in his spare time. His brother-in-law, who's a lawyer, just read his last book and told him to forget about becoming a writer. But Guard 3 thinks that just because his brother-in-law has a law degree, it doesn't mean he can spot talent, and he's right. Guard 3's mind is rich in creative ideas. I need to concentrate hard to sense their thoughts. I can only read one at a time. Since ancient times, I've been able to influence people's thoughts by staring hard at them and whispering suggestions in their ears. But here I am deprived of the power of my gaze, of the soothing allure of my velvety voice. Yet, the longer I concentrate on these guys, the more certain I am that I can influence their thoughts into their minds. I focus on Guard 3. He's the most sensitive. Creating a strong image in my mind, I send it through the wall. The girl is real dangerous. She can kill us all. Guard 3 is saying something that he suddenly breaks off in mid-sentence. I hear him shift uneasily in his chair. Hey guys, he says. What? The other two ask. That chick in there is dangerous. We have to be careful with her. You saw what she did to Sam and Charlie. She knocked them out cold. Guard 2 agrees, but I'd like to see her try it on me. She wouldn't get far. I don't think you want to mess with her, the Guard 1 says. She's supposed to be super strong. Yeah, but they don't tell us why she's strong, Guard 3 says. They just tell us to watch her. But what if she gets out? She could kill us all. Yes, I whisper softly to myself. Relax, Guard 1 says. There's no way she's getting out of that box. Even if she breaks out, Guard 2 says, we can stop her. I don't care about orders. I'm opening fire. I hear bullets can't stop her, Guard 3 says, continuing to dwell on how dangerous I am. I shift my focus on Guard 1 and send out another suggestion. We mustn't lose sight of her. We'll keep an eye on her, Guard 1 says. I place the same thought in Guard 3's mind. Yeah, Guard 3 echoes. We have to be alert. Keep watching her. I tried to put the thought of Guard 2's mind. I've got to take a piss, Guard 2 says. Oh well, I whispered to myself. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Over the next 30 minutes, pausing only when Guard 2 goes to the bathroom, I steadily build up the paranoia about how dangerous I am and how bad things will be if they don't keep me under constant surveillance. Pretty soon, Guard 1 and 3 are talking paranoid gibberish. Guard 2 is not sure how to calm them down, or even why they need to be calmed down. If we don't watch her every second, Guard 1 says, she'll escape. And if she escapes, Guard 3 says, she'll rip our hearts out and eat them. Stop, Guard 2 yells. She's not going to escape. We know that, Guard 1 says. If we don't blink, if we keep the lights on her, she won't escape. But if the lights go out, we're doomed, Guard 3 says. Why should the lights go out? Guard 2 wants to know. Taking a few deep breaths, I slowly ease out of my deep state of concentration. I reach over and gently shake Joel. He opens his eyes and smiles at me. In all the confusion, I had forgotten how handsome he is. His dark blue eyes are filled with affection. What a pleasant sight to wake up to, he whispers. Thank you. Did you sleep? I lean over and whisper directly into his ear. No. I have been planting seeds of our escape. The guards outside are now terrified of losing sight of us. He's curious. You know this for a fact? Yes. I'm going to break the lights in here, which will cause them to panic and call for help. I'm sure General Harver himself will come. Then what? I have a plan of sorts, but it's not set in stone. Just follow my lead. Get up. Get ready to act when I say the word. Joel moves to the wall closest to the door, standing in the center of the cell, staring at the overhead cameras. I give the guards on the other side of the wall one last thing to think about. I'm coming for you now, I say in a wicked voice. You'd better run. You'd better hide. I lick my lips because I'm very hungry. Then, in a series of blinding fast moves, I shatter every light on the ceiling and plunge the cell into darkness. I see perfectly, but Joel has to reach for the wall to get his bearings. At the security station, I hear Guard 1, Guard 3 screaming in terror. Guard 2 fumbles for his weapon, yelling at his partner to stop. I suppress a giggle. Come to me, General, I whisper. Come, Arturo. 5 minutes later, I hear Arturo and Harver pounding down the narrow hall, speaking heatedly. Although I have not heard the General's voice before, I recognize it by the authority it commands. Arturo has influence within the confines of the compound, but the man with the star on his shoulder is in charge. I wonder about the details of their relationship. All about them, clutching the machine guns, trying not to panic, are dozens of soldiers. She's not a danger as long as we keep the lock in place, Arturo says to the general. This is a stunt she's pulling to get us to open the door. I don't like it that we can't see her, General Harver snaps back. You heard what she told you. We don't know the full extent of her powers. For all we know, she's cutting through a wall of the cell as we talk. She's a master of manipulation, Arturo counters. She talked about her own known powers to plant a seed of doubt in our minds for just this occasion. If you open the door to check on her, she'll be on you in a second. You'll have to kill her to stop her, and you can't kill her." "We'll wait and see what she does next," General Harvard says. "What's happening?" Joel hisses in the dark. I whisper softly so that only he can hear. "The General and Arturo are coming. They don't want to open the door, but I think I can do something to inspire them to relent. There will be a lot of noise in a few minutes. Besides creating the racket, I will be mentally projecting into the General's mind. Please don't speak to me during this time. I need to concentrate. Then when they start to open the door, I need you to wedge yourself in the corner behind the door. But don't do it until I give the signal. There'll be gunfire, and the space behind the door will be the safest. Do you understand?" "Yes." "You really think they'll open the door?" "Yes, I'll make them." Once more, I sit cross-legged on the floor. This time, in the center of the room, quieting my thoughts with several deep breaths, I project myself into the General's mind. It is easy to locate. The psychic energy that emanates from him is like molten lava from an erupting volcano. Yet his resolve will not be so easily manipulated with a few implanted thoughts. With a strong individual, even when I can look him in the eye and whisper in his ear, I have trouble getting him to do what I want. Now I have neither of those options at my disposal. What I am attempting to do is set up several conditions that will work on the General and prompt him to give the order to open the door. Getting the guards nervous and knocking out the lights were the first of my conditional steps. The next ones will be more difficult. I slip into General Harvard's mind. It is a black cavern draped with webs of poisonous spiders. When he does get my power, I see General Harvard fantasizes about raping me. He also plans to kill Arturo as soon as the alchemist completes his experiments. There is no trust between the two. General Harvard fears Arturo will alter his own DNA and then kill the General. But what Arturo thinks, I cannot read. His mind is heavily cloaked, not unexpected, in a partial hybrid. Anyway, I must concentrate on the man who gives the orders. General Harvard must push the button that opens the door. This is all that matters. I reach out with my mental claw, that which will break down the door. I hear the General speak to Arturo. "Are you positive she cannot break down the door?" he asks. "Even she cannot destroy this alloy," Arturo reassures him. "The blood of a dead witch is as good as the blood of a living witch." General Harvard does not speak this thought aloud to Arturo, but I know he fantasizes about shooting me in the head, killing me, and immediately injecting my blood into his veins. It is an attractive idea to him. Arturo will not be able to stop him or to come back at him later at an unexpected time with an unseen dagger in his hand. It is the latter point that is the General's primary worry. My suggestion hits home, and I watch as my mental implant expands and warps. General Harvard can almost feel what it will be like to have my blood flow through his veins. In the next few minutes, I give him the idea another nudge. Why wait for the witch's blood? Again, General Harvard does not share this idea aloud with Arturo. Still, he is not ready to open the door. Stretching and breathing normally, I slowly come out of my trance, enough for mental gymnastics. It is time for brutal force. Climbing to my feet, I study the supposed impenetrable door, and then launch my oh my god. My attack. I leap into the air and plant 3 extremely powerful kicks on the hard metal with my feet. In quick succession, I leap again and alternately pounding the door with first my right, then my left foot. The door doesn't give, but the noise I create is deafening. Outside, I can hear them shouting to one another. I know what the general is thinking. The witch is going to break out. I may as well open the door and kill her while I have her cornered. To hell with Arturo. I keep up the pounding. But this time I am sure guard 1 and guard 3 wet their pants. After 5 minutes I pause. Something is happening. A strain to listen with my ears. General Harper, Arturo are arguing in. You're playing right into her hands, Arturo yells. The only protection we have from her is this cell. Open it and you open the door to death, both for yourself and your men. How long do you think that door can withstand that barrage? General Harper asked. See, there are cracks in the walls. The cracks are in the walls that hold the metal cage. The cage itself shows no sign of giving. I don't believe it. General Harper snaps. I say we face her now when we're armed and ready. Better she die than escape. But what about her blood? We need it. There'll be plenty of her blood lying around when I finish with her. Arturo hesitates. He lowers his voice. Plenty of blood for what? General Harper does not answer. He knows there will be only enough blood left in my body for him to inject into his own veins. The more I listen to the two, the clearer it becomes that General Harper is not interested in Arturo's hybrid. He wants to be a full-fledged vampire. That's where it's at in his mind. I return to my pounding. My feet ache. It doesn't matter. The noise shakes the whole building. I imagine even the men in the perimeter towers are trembling. Outside the door, the guards shout to their general for orders. General Harper and Arturo continue to argue. I hear them. We will die, Arturo screams. She's only one, General Harper yells. She can't get us all. He pauses, makes his decision, and shouts to his men. Stand ready, we're going in. I relax for a moment and catch my breath. They're coming, I whisper to Joel. Get behind the door. Can't I help? He asks, moving. I am a vampire, after all, not just FBI. I chuckle softly. Later, Joel. Outside, I hear what sounds like a platoon of guards gathering around the red button. Each is more than a little reluctant to push it. The heavy metal door has become powerfully comforting, but the general is shouting at them again to open it. Loaded magazines are popped onto M16s. Bullets are locked into firing chambers. Rifles are shouldered. I can smell the sweat of their fear. Somebody gathers the courage to push the button. The door begins to open. I leap up into the corner near the ceiling. I don't need to use my newfound levitation abilities. I'm able to wedge myself against the ceiling by pressing the back of my neck against one corner wall. and my feet against the other. Supernatural strength has its advantages. I leave my arms free. I am a black widow, ready to swoop down and snatch her prey. They're going to rue the day they decide to lock me in a solid metal cage. The door opens wider. I hear them outside in the hall. They're frightened, breathing. You could hear a pin drop, even without vampire ears. "She's not there," someone whispers. They aren't even worried about Joel, just me. "That damn witch." "She's behind the door," General Harvard snarls from farther down the hall. It's good to know exactly where he is. "What do we do?" someone croaks. Sounds like Guard 3. "I'm not going in there," Guard 1 moans. His ulcer must be killing him. "I don't like this," Guard 2 agrees. "The door will not close again. No matter what happens, I will not let it. But now I am faced with a decision to make. There is only one hostage who will get me to where I want to go, and that is the kind-hearted General Harvard. If I abduct Arturo, the general will tell his men to open fire on both of us." Certainly. And guard one, any guard I would grab would be expendable in the general's mind. Friendly fire, they call it. Yet the general is maybe 50 feet up the hall. Between us are many soldiers. I'm going to have to reduce the numbers. I need the men to panic and flee. I know I will have to cause pain to make that happen. In a move too swift for the soldiers to see, I slide onto the top of the door, reach outside the cage, and grab one of the soldiers by the hair and pull him back up into the corner with me. The man screams in my hands, and I let him carry on for a bit. No doubt he feels like a victim in an alien movie. Because he is crying so loudly, it takes me several seconds to recognize his voice. It is Guard 3, the one who writes science fiction in his spare time. I'm sure he has seen all the alien movies. I take his weapon and put my hand over his mouth. "Shh," I whisper. "Things are not so bad as they seem. I'm not going to kill you. Not if you cooperate." "I know about you and I like you. The problem is I need to scare your friends out there. Now I know they are already pretty spooked, but I've got to get them to the point where they want to flee, no matter what your general orders. Do you understand?" He nods, his eyes ready to burst out of his head. I smile. "That's good. They are probably imagining that I am ripping your heart out right now. And with a little help from you, I can make them think that it is exactly what I am doing. I will hardly have to hurt you at all. Oh, I see you notice I use the word hurt. To be honest, I will have to cut you enough so that I can blow a stream of your blood out into the hall. Splashing blood always creates a wonderful effect, especially when vampires are involved. While I do that, I want you to scream bloody murder. Can you do that?" He nods. I pinch him. "Are you sure?" "Yes," he croaks. "I don't want to die. I have a wife and 2 kids." "I know. And your brother-in-law is a lawyer. By the way, don't listen to a thing he tells you. He is like all lawyers, envious of those who do honest work for a living. You just keep writing your stories. If you want, you can even write one about me, but make me a blonde. This red hair is store-bought." "What's your name?" he asks, relaxing slightly. I don't want him to relax. I am Mrs. Satan. I scratch him on the side of his right arm, tearing his flesh and drawing plenty of blood. Start screaming, buddy. Guard 3 does as he's told. His performance is admirable. He believes half of it. Oh, God, stop it. Save me. She's ripping my heart out. Actually, he didn't have to get so specific. But I let it pass. While he cries to his fellow soldiers, I purse my lips and blow on the blood that trickles from his arm. I have quite the set of lungs. The blood splatters over the exterior of the wall and onto the floor outside. I hear the men moaning in horror. This is worse than Nam, many think. They haven't seen anything yet. Now let out a real loud death scream, I tell Guard 3. Trail off into silence. Then I'll drop you behind the door where your friend is hiding. You might want to stay there when the shooting starts. I warn you ahead of time. I am going to have to kill many of your friends. When I'm through, you may leave this building. Get out as fast as you can. Steal a truck if you have to. Things are going to get awfully hot here. Do you understand? Yes. You're not going to kill me? No, not tonight. You can relax. After you do exactly what I say. The guard lets out a death scream. I spray an especially wide shower of blood through the doorway. Then I drop the guy down beside Joel, who pats him on the back and tells him to relax. I hand Joel the man's weapon and order him to keep it handy. Several guards outside the door are crying. They have backed away, but not far enough to be safe. I reach out and grab another. He carries a powered machine gun, which I wedge between the door and the frame. He smells of hamburger and fries. His food is probably not digesting well. I don't know this soldier, which doesn't bode well for him. You're going to die now, I tell his horrified face. I'm sorry, it has to be this way. I kill him slowly, painfully, so that his throat-tearing screams and red blood mingle to create an image so ghastly that many of the soldiers feel they are trapped in a nightmare from which they cannot awaken. When I am done, I throw what is left of his body into the hall. It is very messy. The terror in the air is palpable as the hard metal door that can no longer be closed. The last execution has disturbed me. If I am forced to kill, I prefer to do so efficiently and painlessly. I will not make another example. I don't have the stomach for it. It is time to leave the building, with Joel and General Harver in hand, to grab the machine gun the soldier brought in. I drop from my position on the ceiling and immediately retrieve it and open fire. Oh, the men outside the door stand frozen in place. They fall to their desks like 10 pins. I kill 8 of them before I step into the hall. Arturo and General Harver are at the far end. They are 100 feet away, backing up fast. Between us there are many soldiers. I cannot allow the big boss to leave the building without me. But the bloody examples I made of the first 2 men have had an effect. The soldiers are pushing and crowding behind General Harver and Arturo, slowing them down, preventing them from simply leaving. Also, General Harver has lost control of his men. I stand clear, an easy target in the hallway, but no order to fire comes. In their hearts, the men do not believe this witch can be killed with mere bullets. They wish They had opened the door. "Drop your weapons, and I will let you live," I yell. Most in front of me surrender right then. The few who don't, who take aim, I shoot in the head. The sheer number of deaths does not numb me. I look in the eyes of each one. I destroy and wonder about his life and who he leaves behind. If it was just my life, honestly, if there was no danger of my blood falling into the wrong hands, I would let them cut me down. But I have a responsibility to mankind. I know that is the rationale of every great man or woman, of every merciless monster. The smell of blood is too thick even for my taste. Okay. So that is where I am going to stop for today. Okay. And tomorrow we will pick up The Last Vampire, Red Dice. We will continue on Sita's rampage. Now, oh my goodness, what happened? Oh, alright. I don't know what happened. Alright, anyway, for those of you who are interested, I am the author of Vampire Juice. It is a mystery, a horror mystery adventure about vampires and teen romance. It is spooky and creepy like Fear Street and The Lost Boys. Is basically where two teens, they discover a can of vampire juice in the back of the store. A clerk kicks them out. And they want it back. They want to find out why the clerk so venomously kicked them out. The clerk puts it in a locked closet. And two bullies tell them that there's a secret passage in a crypt. Where's this crypt? In an abandoned graveyard. So they retrieve it at night. And there's spooky and creepy things all along the way. And they do get the vampire juice. What happens next is horrifying. Alright, my link is in the bio. Thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.